Li Guangyi has been able to see things that others cannot see since he was a child. At the beginning, Li Guangyi's mother could still shirk it by saying, "Children are ignorant." But when he was 6 years old, his mother took him to attend a funeral. He actually talked to the deceased. He hid 20,000 yuan in his pillow, Li Guangyi said, pointing to the photo in the morning hall. Later, the family of the deceased really found 20,000 yuan in the pillow. When they asked, Li Guangyi said, "He told me himself." At this point, it is impossible to hide it anymore. Li Guangyi's mother had to admit that her son could see things in another world. She took her son to find a famous fortune teller. The gentleman counted with his fingers and said, "Yin Yang eyes." Absolutely. Yin Yang eyes? That's right. The so-called Yin Yang eyes are the ability to see ghosts with the naked eye. Some ghosts have too much resentment and will linger in the human world until the resentment dissipates. Ghosts with heavier resentment will also emit black air. People with Yin Yang eyes have different physical characteristics from ordinary people. Their physique is closer to ghosts. To put it bluntly, they are the same as ghosts. After saying that, he patted Li Guangyi's shoulder. "Can it be cured? No matter how much money it costs, it's fine." After hearing this, the mother felt even more terrified. She held Li Guangyi's hand and asked anxiously. The fortune teller shook his head and said that many people can see things when they are young and grow up. But what if it still happens in the future? The mother was very worried. Then we can only try in the big temple. Li Guangyi also realized that he was special and began to turn a blind eye to people from another world. After entering elementary school, he never showed off in front of others again. In this way, it was very peaceful until the 3rd grade of elementary school. Only his family shared this secret with him. Until one day when Li Guangyi saw that person in the corner of the classroom, he began to hesitate whether to disclose his secret. After all, this was a matter of life and death. He frowned and sat in his seat with a very ugly face. "Are you okay?" A good friend Opping sent a note. "It's okay," Li Guangyi wrote. He looked back at Opping again with concern. Opping smiled at him innocently, but he looked at Opping and couldn't laugh. Later, things happened as Li Guangyi thought. The next day at noon a policeman found Opping and said a few words to him. Opping started crying hysterically. He cried and shouted, "I want my grandma." It turned out that Opping's parents were working outside. He had been living with his grandma, but last night, his grandma didn't come home all night. He called his parents and reported to the police according to their instructions. But until now, his grandma hasn't come back. The policeman came here to tell Opping that his grandma was missing. Li Guangyi looked at the empty corner. He clenched his hands and made up his mind. He ran out and stopped the policeman who was about to leave. "She's dead," Li Guangyi said. "Ah, how did you know?" The police hadn't reacted yet. "Opping's grandmother told me that I have the ability to see ghosts and spirits." He pointed to the empty corner and finally said it. At first, of course, the police wouldn't believe it. But when Li Guangyi's words matched the police's findings, they had to believe it. Under Li Guangyi's instructions, the police quickly found Opping's grandmother's body. It turned out that yesterday afternoon, when the grandmother was passing through a suburb as usual after returning from the store, a BMW sped past. After the owner got out of the car, he only saw the grandmother who had died. He buried the body in the wilderness and simply dealt with the crime scene before fleeing in a hurry. But what he didn't know was that the grandmother's spirit had seen all of this. Later, the grandmother wanted to see her grandson for the last time. So she came to this classroom, but was seen by Li Guangyi. The next day, news of the case being solved came. The murderer heard that the body had been found and turned himself in the next day. Moreover, he was not a small figure and was the strongest candidate for the next mayor. This incident made a big fuss, and almost everyone in the country knew about it. The story of the boy with yin yang eyes behind this incident was also widely spread. Li Guangyi became famous overnight. Reporters came to interview him every day, making it difficult for him to continue his life at home. Those who were close to him before also regarded him as a monster. "Mom, I'm sorry, it's all my fault." The sensible Li Guangyi squatted in the corner and cried. "It's okay, you did the right thing." The mother turned her face away and secretly wiped away the tears from the corner of her eyes. She couldn't let her child be treated as an alien for the rest of his life. With this belief, the mother followed the fortune teller's words and took Li Guangyi to a big temple, where they met an old monk. "Master, please save my child. The mother knelt on the ground and cried when she saw the monk. Amitabha donor, please get up quickly. The monk seemed to have a weak leg and limped over to help Li Guangyi's mother up. My child has had yin yang eyes since he was a child. Please help me cast a spell to seal it. Oh. The monk approached Li Guangyi after carefully examining it for a while. He said, Amitabha, I'm afraid I can't do anything about it. Why? Then my child is hopeless. The time has not come yet. The yin-yang eyes are destined by heaven. They must be resolved according to the laws of nature. You can't force it. Please light a few sticks of incense for a while. Even if you see it, you can avoid being entangled by the evil spirit. After saying that, he put his hands together again and lowered his head. However, Li Guangyi seemed not to hear him and kept hiding behind his mother. On his leg, Li Guangyi pointed at the old monk's leg and said timidly, There is a dog. What did you say? The old monk's eyes widened, and he took 2 steps forward eagerly. There is a dog biting your leg. Li Guangyi closed his eyes. It's covered in blood. The old monk's face changed slightly after hearing this. After a few seconds, he suddenly picked up a brick from the ground and smashed it on his leg with all his strength. The brick broke into 2 pieces. He knelt on the ground in pain. He still put his hands together. Everyone present was stunned. The old monk was panting. He looked up at Li Guangyi and asked, Is the dog still there? Run away, Li Guangyi answered. The old monk sighed and touched his legs after hearing this. 20 years ago, I was a butcher who made a living by slaughtering dogs and selling meat. Later, I knew that I had committed a serious sin, so I became a monk. In the past 20 years, my legs have not been very agile. I didn't expect that it would haunt me for 20 years. Once you are haunted by evil spirits, you must pay the price. Karma. After he finished speaking, he put his hands together again and bowed his head. Just like that, the only hope in my mother's heart was shattered. Fortunately, Li Guangyi didn't take it too seriously. Maybe time can change everything. Several years pass peacefully. Li Guangyi has graduated from high school. Maybe the world is more peaceful, and those wronged souls don't want to wander around in the world anymore. The ghosts he can see are much fewer, almost very few. Sometimes he only sees 1 or 2 after several days. But he prefers to believe that this is a sign that his yin-yang eyes have improved. In fact, he has a vague idea of whether his yin-yang eyes are still there, because some ghosts don't have too much resentment. There is no black air on the body, and it is no different from ordinary people. For example, the old man lying in front of the hospital basking in the sun. Li Guangyi saw him when he was a child. He has not ascended to heaven for so many years. He has been lying in front of the hospital basking in the sun. When he first saw him, he was still dark. Now he is no different from ordinary people. He will probably ascend to heaven in a few days. Thinking of this, Li Guangyi suddenly felt that he had not talked to ghosts for a long time. So he walked over. Uncle, why haven't you ascended to heaven in these years? You have been basking in the sun here? Ascend to heaven? You curse me to death. The old man reacted and was very angry. He slapped the chair and stood up. The people around thought they were quarreling and turned around to look at him. Li Guangyi smiled awkwardly and wanted to explain to everyone that this was not a quarrel. But he suddenly thought of something and froze in place. No, these people can see him? Li Guangyi thought, is it possible that he is not a ghost? Are you a human or a ghost? Li Guangyi didn't believe it. He reached out and touched the old man. He could actually touch it. Impossible. I saw you a few years ago. At that time, you were still a ghost with black energy all over your body. What? You can also see those dark ghosts? The old man's eyes suddenly lit up. But this sentence made Li Guangyi confused. Haha, I told them that I have yin-yang eyes, but they didn't believe it. They insisted that I was a mental patient. Ha ha ha. The old man laughed after saying that. You also have yin-yang eyes? Li Guangyi suddenly remembered what the fortune teller said when he was a child. People with yin-yang eyes have different physical characteristics from ordinary people. Their physical constitution is closer to ghosts. To put it bluntly, they are the same as ghosts. Back then, this old man was forcibly taken to the hospital as a mental patient. Naturally, he had a lot of resentment. He looked like he was emitting black energy. So Li Guangyi mistook him for a ghost. But the old man has always been treated as a mental patient. He must have a lot of resentment. How come I can't see any black energy at all? Li Guangyi was still confused, but the old man spoke. Hey, you are very nagging. I know it, huh? What? That's him, the dark one. The old man pointed at the air behind Li Guangyi with an innocent look. Nothing. Li Guangyi looked back. Huh, didn't you say you have the yin-yang eyes? Why can't I see him? I thought he was your friend. He has been behind you since the beginning, saying something like, he was almost the mayor. It's so annoying. Li Guangyi didn't react at first, he just stood there in a daze. Suddenly, he opened his eyes wide as if he was electrocuted, and cold sweat ran down his face. It turned out that his yin-yang eyes were gone a long time ago. So he saw the old man in front of him, as no different from an ordinary person. And he suddenly remembered what the old monk said. Once you are entangled by evil spirits, you must pay the price. Everything is destined by heaven, karma. Cold sweat ran down his spine. Li Guangyi felt a force pulling him back. He turned around, but only saw a BMW car speeding over.